Welcome back to the channel, guys, and for those of you that are new, welcome to the channel. Today we are going to continue our testing in the Thompson Center Compass chambered in 308 Winchester. We did our first batch of load development, and today we are going to continue with our second batch of load development. Today we're going to be testing a load using 150 grain Hornady soft point bullets, large rifle CCI primers, once fired 308 Winchester brass, and Varget powder, once again from 42 grains to 46 grains, going up in half grain increments. Now I know that some people may be like, you're not using the most aerodynamic bullets, Matt. Well, it is more of a budget rifle. I got the thing for $200, so I would like to test some budget ammo in it as well to see how it does. I know that the 3-shot MOA guarantee is for high quality ammo. We're going to use some high quality ammo, but I would like to see how a budget hunting cartridge, in terms of having a hunting load using just cheap soft point, I don't want to call it cheap, but more budget friendly soft point ammo, is going to perform out of this gun. So we're going to try to make these loads up as best we can, be as precise as we can in loading them. We're going to test them out and we're going to see how they do. So let's go test these out and see what happens. All right, guys, we're back out again for load development number 2 on the Thompson Center Compass chambered in 308 Winchester. Now you'll have to forgive me, I already shot the first group. I forgot to turn my mic on, so I don't think I'm going to include that video because there will be no sound. But anyway, today we are shooting a little bit more of a hunting load, since we're going to turn this gun into more of a hunting rifle anyway. So what we're shooting is the Hornady 150 grain flat base bullets. They do not have a boat tail, but they're the soft point hunting bullets, and I figured these probably won't be grouping amazing, but we may be able to get some decent hunting cartridges here, because I have 500 of these from a rebate from Hornady, so I need to find something to do with them, and maybe this gun will be able to get a pretty good use out of them. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and shoot this second group here. This is once fired Winchester brass. It's full length resize, so it is not neck size to this gun. And I'm also going to move this down a little bit, because that last group was pretty high. So the GoPro is sitting right in front of the target, so I'm really hoping we don't shoot the GoPro today, but there's only one way to find out, so let's get to shooting. All right, so that's kind of the group size that I'm expecting to see throughout most of the testing, more or less. But I've seen pretty good results out of these bullets from my 270. So I'm not saying that it's impossible to make them very accurate, but I definitely have a harder time getting 308 to be more accurate a lot of the time than I do some of those sleeker bullets. But so far they're not grouping terrible, and hopefully we will see some better shot groups here in a minute. All right, so that second group wasn't too shabby. Just eyeballing it, it looked like it was about 1.5 inches. So with only 2 groups on there, first one was definitely bigger, but it looks like we might be able to get a good load out of this today, so hopefully that'll be the case. I dial it down a little bit more because we're still hitting high by about 2 inches, but I'm only going to bring it down 1. So the powder charges that we are shooting today is between 42 grains and 46 grains of Varget, going up in half grain increments. So first charge was 42 grains, first load. Second load, 42 and a half, and then this third one here is going to be 43 grains of Varget. And all of these bullets are seated to the cantilever. So this next group, we're gonna shoot for the bottom left target, or the bottom left diamond, I guess I should say. Oh man, that kicked grass right in my eyes that time. Now it is a little windy out here today, so this isn't the most ideal day to do low development, but we can still get some testing done. Brass still looks good. And this isn't my first time shooting these powder charges, so I'm not super concerned about the pressure just yet, but once we start getting a little higher into these charges, then I'll definitely be paying attention to them. So far looks good. I can't really, oh, now I can see it. Yeah, it looks kind of like the first group. I think we've got 3 close together and then 2 that are opening it up quite a bit. So far so good. All right, the next group is gonna be 43 and a half grains of Varget. I'm loading the first round because the 5th round is extremely hard to load into this rotary magazine for the compass. I'm not sure if that's normal or if it's just my gun in particular or my magazine, but it's just easier to not even deal with it. Okay, so we're gonna go for the top right target here. right, so it looked like it tightened up a little bit, at least vertically. I think there's still a decent horizontal spread, but it doesn't look too bad. I think so far that might be the best of the 4 groups that we've got so far. So looking like we might get a little bit of improvement here as the powder charge increases. Who knows? We'll definitely see more as we continue. Barrel's starting to heat up, so I think we'll give it more time to cool off here. Brass still looks good, so no signs of extreme pressure, at least. We still got over half the loads to do, so that's definitely a good thing. We're still on the lower end for the most part, and we will continue. All right, we let the gun cool down. We're gonna go ahead and shoot the next group, which is going to be 44 grains of Varget. It is a really nice day today, and if it wasn't for these random gusts of wind, it would be absolutely perfect for doing load development, which I'm not saying it's not still a good day for it, but downrange I can definitely feel that wind a little bit more, so hopefully it's not going to make a big impact on these groups. But that last group that we shot didn't look too bad, so hopefully on these next few we'll see kind of a similar result, but there's only one way to find out. So we're gonna go for the top left target here. Let's see what she does. There are 44 grains of Varget, as long as I didn't screw that up. I'm gonna start trying to remember to religiously check the brass here after each new set of charges so that we can make sure that we're not running into any pressure signs. So let's do this. Whoa, that was really low. Primer looks good. Brass looks good. No ejector marks. That's interesting. So on the last test we shot PPU brass, and we were definitely seeing ejector marks pretty early on. So I don't know if PPU brass is softer than Winchester brass, but I'm kind of getting that vibe a little bit right now. However, these are lighter bullets, so I should probably mention that too, because the last ones we shot were either 168 grain or 165. I'm not sure. Can't remember. This group already sucks. Okay, so I think we got 4 up top, and then that one random one's just floating down there. I don't know why that one decided to be such a loner, but all right, so that's 44 grains. We got 4 charges left, 2 ciders, if you're wondering what those are. Brass is still looking good. Not seeing any ejector marks that weren't already there, because these were actually fired out of a AR-10 prior to being fired through this gun. So they were full length resized, just to reiterate that if I haven't said it already. But so far everything's looking good. We'll keep shooting. I'm gonna let the gun cool down here. I'm gonna go down there, mark the target, and then we'll probably just keep shooting on the same target unless these groups start to get absolutely massive, which that last one was pretty big, but I think we can get away with getting all 9 of these on one target. So let's go mark it. Okay, so last group sucked, and that's okay because we've got several decent groups on paper, so I'm not too worried about it. But we're gonna keep moving forward. This is 44.5, I think, and we're just going to keep using the same target and get a little more creative with our points of aim here. I'm gonna aim at the left corner of that center diamond. So hopefully the group will end up somewhere between our groups on our two groups on the left. And hopefully they won't run into each other, but with that last group, it's very possible that they will. However, I have faith. Hopefully we'll get a good group and we won't have to worry about it. But that's why we mark them, so that we'll at least know which ones are getting thrown off, hopefully, at least. All right, let's see how this does. Went right next to the sight-in round, or shot. Brass still looks good. Not seeing anything worth noting. Primers look great. We'll shoot the rest of these. Hopefully we'll get a decent group here. Are those two touching? I think so. Looks like those two are pretty close. Yeah, I tried not to get too excited there because it looked like that was a really good group until that last shot, which unfortunately has seemed to be the case with this gun pretty consistently, even though the last batch of load development we did could have attributed that to the scope a little bit, but I don't really think that was the case. And especially now that this thing is solidly mounted in here and I know it's not going anywhere, which I can visually see that. But I mean, 4 shots almost touching. It looks like that would have been a 1 MOA group, maybe. I can't really tell from here, but maybe over 1 MOA. Like, I don't know. Anyway, it's looking like it has the potential for accuracy, but yet it just always seems to string one off. And I don't know if maybe part of that could be attributed to the barrel heating up, which I'm trying to let it cool down between shots, but it's still getting pretty hot. So that may be a part of it, in which case that's my fault. But there's plenty of things we can try out. I'm going to look at some different things, like a little higher quality brass, see if that makes a difference, which, like I said, these are not matched bullets by any means, so you can't expect a ton from them. But like I said, I've been able to get pretty good accuracy out of them before, so I'm not saying that it's impossible to make a good load out of these, but at the same time, you don't want to expect sub MOA groups every time. So we'll keep shooting. Maybe we'll get a really good group out of a few of these. I'm liking the one on the top right. I think that was probably our best bet so far. And that last one got me a little encouraged, but I'm not gonna make too many speculations just yet. We've still got a lot of shooting to do with this gun. But so far, I've seen some results that have made me pretty happy. So I'm not gonna complain. I'm gonna go ahead and go down and mark this target and we will keep shooting. All right, guys, so the next group is 45 grains of Varget. Now, I know I mentioned trying out better brass later. I'm not necessarily saying that Winchester brass is bad, but there's definitely higher quality brass out there, which it seems to be doing okay. But I definitely plan on testing a lot of different things in this gun, and I want to see what kind of combinations of components it prefers. Now, I know I keep using Varget powder. That's just because that's what I have, and I've got a decent amount of it, so I know I can do some good testing with it, but I can't really afford to go buy very much powder right now. I don't really have the means to buy any new components right now, so I'm just using what I have. But I'm thinking in the next test, I have some Sierra Match Kings and some Starline brass, so I think we'll try that out. But for this group, we're gonna try to shoot for that right corner or the right side of the center diamond, so the opposite of where we shot last time, and hopefully we'll get a decent group out of it. Which I know I say that every time, but that's why we're here, right? So I will say one thing, other than group number 5, I think, the one that opened up real bad, I'm liking the consistency that we're seeing for the most part with this particular set of loads here. We haven't necessarily gotten under an inch, but we've gotten close to it, and I think for the most part we've been right around 1.5 inches, which is not bad for what I was expecting out of these. That's about where I thought we were going to be, and that's fine, because 1.5 inches hunting load that's really not that expensive to produce out of this gun is more or less what I was hoping for. So if we get something smaller than that, that'll be awesome. But if not, I'm not going to be too unhappy with what we come away with here today, because I think that third, whichever group, that top right one, it's looking pretty good. So if we can produce that every time, that'd be just fine with me. That's a pretty good group. So exactly my point. I don't know that that's under 1 inch, but a group like that, it's not terrible. However, if we can get under that within these last 2 loads, I'll be pretty happy if we can reproduce that. Plus these cases are full length resize, so we may be able to get them a lot closer, if not under 1 inch, just by neck sizing them. I don't know. There's definitely a lot of different things that we could try out just to squeeze a little bit more accuracy out of this, even before putting it in the new stock and bedding it. But for now, I'm gonna go mark this target and we're gonna shoot this next group. Okay, next up we got 45.5 grains of Varget. Now, I'm curious to see what you guys think about this, but when I'm using targets like this, I actually prefer to aim at the corner of the diamond, or the diamonds. I just feel like it's easier for me to keep a consistent point of aim that way than when I'm aiming at the inside of the circle. I just feel like it's a lot easier for the reticle to end up floating around inside the circle, or to have a very consistent point of aim doing that versus having that chevron tip to aim at. So if you disagree with me, leave a comment and let me know what you think, because I'm curious to see if I'm the only one that feels that way, which I know I'm not, but I want to see who else has that same mindset. So 45.5 here. We got 2 groups left, including this one. I'm going to aim at the bottom corner of this diamond, the center diamond, and then I think we're going to put this last group next on the bottom right diamond, since we don't even have a group touching it. Kind of feels like I didn't load around. I hope it did. I guess I did. I did the same thing there. I don't know if the bolt was just so smooth that time that it didn't notice it, but yeah, I wouldn't say that this gun has the smoothest bolt in the world, but those last 2 rounds, I didn't even feel like I loaded one, honestly. Well, as long as I'm seeing this correctly, it looks like on the higher end of these powder charges, these things are actually liking it. And I'm gonna look like an idiot on camera because I forgot to check my brass like I said I was gonna do. Not smart on my part. Which luckily, I mean, it still looks pretty darn good. I'm not seeing the primers aren't even flat. At least not bad. So everything looks pretty good so far, and we only have 1 group left. So I'm not on the top end. I normally go off of Nosler's reloading data whenever I do my charge weights for load development, because Hornady is pretty conservative and they typically don't even get anywhere near the top end from what I've seen a lot of the time. Not saying they never do, but if you compare different manuals, typically Hornady's on the lower side. But this time I kind of landed somewhere between the middle of the max charge between Hornady and Nosler's load manual. I believe Hornady had it stopped or capped off at 45 grains of Varget, and Nosler had it capped off at 46.5. So I just did 46 on the top end, 42 is the starting load. And I'm actually pretty happy that we did that, because I think I'm starting to see that some of these higher charge weights are actually grouping better. I don't know if I can necessarily say consistently, but it looks to me like the last 3, if I'm remembering which ones I just shot, were not too bad. So we'll shoot this last group. I'm gonna let the gun cool off a little bit. I'll go mark the target, and then we'll go measure these at home and see how we did. All right, guys, we got 1 group left. 46 grains of Varget here. I changed my mind on point of aim though. I'm actually gonna aim at the center of the center diamond instead of the bottom right diamond. But mainly because that's the farthest target from my GoPro that I have plenty of space to shoot at. So we're gonna aim right in the center and hope that they don't touch any of the other targets, which means we should have about 2 inches in every direction from the center to work with, at least. So if it touches any of the other targets, this is not going to be a good group, but hopefully it won't. We'll see here in a second. Hope we get a good group. Not sure where that one hit. I assume it hit one of the other groups because I can't figure out where it hit. Alright, let's throw another one in here, see what happens. Okay, well that one was pretty much dead center. So I don't have any idea where that other one went. So that one. I just had another really slick, well I hope another slick loading. And of course, I forgot to check my brass again, which honestly, it looks fine. I don't really see any signs of pressure, so I'm not too worried about it. Man, I feel like this bolt is just getting smoother, which is really nice. All right, I would say that looks like a pretty good group, but I have to figure out what happened to that first shot because I don't know where it went. So we've got plenty of data to digest here, and I would like to shoot at least one more round of load development with some different bullets and different brass. Like I said, I've got some Starline brass to try out before we swap out the stock. And I would really like to change these rings because this cheek rest is not the most comfortable thing in the world, but I mean, it works. Obviously you can see it doesn't hinder the groups to a point to where you can't get some decent shots going. I mean, to where you can be accurate to a point, but it's definitely, in terms of comfortability, going to be a lot nicer to get some lower rings whenever I can afford to buy some. So let's get back to the house and measure these. All right guys, so the good news is we got the second batch of load development done and the scope didn't move through the rings at all. So at least for now, it's not a problem. Once we start increasing the grain amount of the bullets that we're gonna be shooting, we may see that problem occur again, but for now, we're good. So with that being said, let's go take a look at these groups. All right guys, back to the target here with the lightsaber pencil once again, which really is only good as a pointer because it sucks as a pencil. And remember, we are using Varget from 42 grains to 46 grains. So this first one here is 42 grains. We're going up in half grain increments, and the last shot group is going to be at 46 grains. So just keep that in mind as we're going through this. I'm not going to iterate the powder amount as we go through this. I'm just going to give the group sizes. So the first one right here, it was 1.804 inches. The second shot group was 1.560 inches. The third shot group was 1.444 inches. The fourth group was 1.264 inches. The fifth group was 2.630 inches, which this one was pretty large compared to the rest of these, except for the ninth one, which we'll get to that. But I'm not sure why that happened. I don't think that I pulled the shot, but it's possible, as well as the ninth one. But moving on, we have 1.474 inches for number 6. For number 7, we have 1.460 inches. For number 8, we have 1.060 inches, which was by far our best group here. We got 2 shots in one hole, one here, one here, and one here. That was definitely the best shot group that we had from this loading period, even on testing that I've done outside of the range of my camera. So anyway, the last group sucked. It was 3.225 inches, was just massive for this shot group set here. And I'm not entirely sure what happened there either. But overall, it wasn't too shabby. The group average was 1.8 inches, but if you drop these two outliers here, which were by far larger than the rest of the targets by a significant amount, it actually drops the group average quite a bit. It drops to 1.4 inches for the rest of the groupings here. So 1.4 inches was about what we were expecting for this kind of bullet. But with that being said, you guys, as always, develop your own opinion, and we'll get back to the bench. All right guys, so that test went pretty well. The groups were actually fairly promising. We had some pretty ugly ones, but I can't blame it on the scope this time because it stayed tight in the rings. But with that being said, this is pretty much concluding our last video. With one last word, I just want to say, if you guys want to support the channel, please go on to Amazon and buy one of my sets of coasters here. Dedicor is the brand name, and it's a silicone coaster set of 8. If you go on to Amazon and you buy one of these coaster sets, and if you like them, or you or your friends or your family do, and you leave a review, that would help support the channel tremendously. It gives me a few bucks, and I am not making anything on YouTube right now, so it's a big help. And I'll leave an affiliate link below. If you guys use those affiliate links, anything you buy on Amazon using that link will send me a very small commission off of whatever you buy. So anyway, thank you guys for sticking around. I hope to see you again on the next video. I'm excited to see what these next loads do.
Where did that weather shot go?